Okay, let's try this. I've climbed up into this tree to tell this story. I don't know if it's a good place to tell this story or not. But I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna have to pause when cars go by probably, because it's a little loud. Okay, here we go. This is the closest thing I have to a Me Too story, I guess. I mean, Me Too seems to me, Me Too to me. Anyways, it's serious. Everyone recognizes it's serious. But a lot of what it is and what it means has gotten lost in the tumult of the action, of the plot. These figures getting taken down and these voices rising. And to me, it seems that what it's about is sex, is the problematic perversions of the sexual impulse. Sexual feeling, sexual emotion, sexual impulse. Within our American capitalist society that we live in. And I don't mean to rant about capitalism. I think the free market is the most sensible idea that anyone has come up with yet, and I don't really think that there needs to be any further thinking about it. But we've associated sex with this way that we sell things and perverted its super strong power into this confusing and dangerous and sometimes poisonous mechanism, and that's really disappointing and sad. My Me Too story comes from when I was a kid. My story of having sexual perversion act upon me with violence, the measure of intrusive violation. And I was 10 years old. And my teacher at that time French kissed me. Basically. He said he was going to bite out my tongue, and he proceeded to try and do so. And I fought him off. I think it had happened once or twice before. And eventually I gave in because he was much stronger than me. He was a full-grown adult and I was a 10-year-old boy. And it lasted for a few seconds. Several, I'm not sure how long. It was gross and unpleasant and uncomfortable. And then he stopped and I immediately escaped and moved away. And didn't say anything, and I think maybe I wiped my mouth out with my hand or my shirt. Just wasn't shy about showing that it disgusted me. And after a bit he said, "You don't like that?" In this quiet voice. And I didn't say anything. And after a little bit more, he said, if you don't like that, then we won't. Okay, if you don't like that, then we won't do it again. And it never happened again after that. My cigarette's out. His name was Alan Temple. He was the founder and director of the school that I spent most of my time in elementary school, a Montessori school called Mountain Shadows. And when I was an adult, he was arrested, tried, and convicted on many counts of child molesting, sexual assault, I don't know. And he went to jail, prison, whatever. I think the Boulder County Jail. And he got cancer there and he died there. And when he died, I felt sad because I'd thought of going to visit him and I hadn't. And I felt sad to think about how he died. It must have been a sad ending to his life. Because he wasn't a bad person. He was a person who had something wrong inside of him. It wasn't a formative experience for me. It was something I forgot about, not repressed, forgot about. It came back to me many years later, perhaps at the time when he was going through the trial. I don't remember remembering it specifically, but I do kind of remember the sense of going, oh, that happened. Oh, right. Oh, weird. Huh. And then examining it sort of briefly, because it didn't take very long to make sure that it wasn't is that deeply embedded? And no, it wasn't. It wasn't a painful memory. It was just a strange memory. I wish I could have done more for him at the time. I wish I could have done more for him later. Because what he wanted wasn't to kiss a 10-year-old boy. What he wanted was to fix some problem inside of him, to find an answer to this question inside of him. He'd built a really lovely school, and I'd had a wonderful time there, up to that point. But at that point, our relationship started to fracture. He was unable to contain me in the classroom anymore, and the classroom was unable to contain me generally. And at the end of the following year, I had kind of a disastrous climax to an ongoing series of behavioral issues that were growing and becoming larger and larger, and my parents pulled me out of school in the spring of that year. My problem wasn't Mr. Temple, Alan Temple. My problem was unrelated. And as we're attacking these figures of power and bringing them down, yes, of course that should happen. Of course there should be consequences. Things should change. big things should change. But there's so little empathy. There's so little thought given to, if this person did a thing like that, do you really think they're a happy person inside? Do you think a person who forces other people into things is a person who's enjoying their life? I don't think so. I think they're deeply sad and deeply afraid inside. I know Alan Temple was. So yes, of course I forgive him. I don't think that was ever a question for me. He was molested by his grandmother when he was a kid. For many years, probably, I don't know. But something was wrong inside of him because of that. And I hope at the end he was able to find some peace.